Welcome to Chasing Curiosity. TV subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. The world's eyes are fixed on the South China Sea, a region that has become the epicenter of a rapidly escalating geopolitical crisis. Once considered a distant maritime dispute, the South China Sea now commands the attention of governments, militaries, and citizens across the globe. Every day, new developments unfold, drawing in more international players and raising the stakes for all involved. Here, tensions are reaching a boiling point as rival navies maneuver through crowded, contested waters. The atmosphere is thick with uncertainty, and the risk of confrontation grows with each passing day. Patrol boats and warships shadow each other, their crews on constant alert, knowing that even a minor incident could spiral out of control. China has issued a stark warning to the Philippines: don't play with fire, making it clear that it will not tolerate what it sees as challenges to its territorial claims. The message is unmistakable. Beijing is prepared to defend its interests, no matter the cost. In response, U.S. and Japanese warships have joined Philippine forces, conducting joint exercises and sailing in formation as a powerful show of strength and solidarity. Their presence signals to China and the world that they are committed to upholding freedom of navigation and supporting their allies in the region. This is no longer a distant dispute. It's a global flashpoint, with some of the world's most powerful militaries converging in these contested waters. The military buildup is visible from space, and the world watches anxiously as the balance of power shifts. Beijing accuses the United States of stoking a new Cold War, warning that foreign interference only heightens the risk of conflict. Meanwhile, Manila stands firm, vowing to defend every inch of its territory and refusing to back down in the face of intimidation. Across the Philippines, public sentiment is strong, with citizens rallying behind their leaders and demanding action. Washington and Tokyo have rallied behind the vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific, directly challenging China's growing assertiveness. Their leaders emphasize the importance of international law, open sea lanes, and regional stability, making it clear that they will not stand by as the status quo is threatened. The risk of miscalculation is real and ever present. With so many ships and aircraft operating in close proximity, a single mistake, a misread signal, a sudden maneuver, could ignite a conflict with consequences that would reverberate far beyond Asia, potentially drawing in nations from around the world. In this special report, we'll break down the crisis from every angle. We'll trace the roots of the dispute, from historic claims and ancient maps to the modern military maneuvers that have brought us to the brink. Understanding the past is key to making sense of the present standoff. We'll also explore why these waters matter so much to the world. The South China Sea is a vital artery for global trade, with trillions of dollars worth of goods passing through each year. Recent incidents, near collisions, aggressive maneuvers, and tense standoffs have pushed tensions to the brink, threatening not just regional peace, but the stability of the global economy. The stakes are about more than just rocks and reefs. At issue is the future of international law, the rules that govern the world's oceans, and the balance of global power. Decisions made here will shape the international order for years to come. As warships patrol and diplomats spar, the central question remains: can peace be preserved through dialogue and restraint, or is confrontation inevitable? The world waits, holding its breath, as the next chapter in the South China Sea unfolds. The United States has officially finalized a significant arms deal to supply the Philippines with advanced F-16 fighter jets, marking a pivotal moment in the evolving security landscape of Southeast Asia. This agreement is not just about hardware. It represents a deepening of military ties between Washington and Manila, and signals a renewed American commitment to its regional allies. For the Philippines, acquiring these state-of-the-art jets is a major leap forward in its long-standing efforts to modernize its armed forces. The deal is seen as a crucial step in strengthening the country's ability to defend its sovereignty, especially in the face of growing external threats and territorial disputes. These F-16s are more than just an upgrade. They are essential tools for protecting the Philippines' vast maritime interests, particularly in contested waters where tensions have been steadily rising. The jets will enhance the country's surveillance, deterrence, and rapid response capabilities. However, Beijing views this development with deep suspicion, interpreting the arms sale as a provocative move by Washington. Chinese officials have accused the U.S. of deliberately arming a regional rival, warning that such actions only serve to escalate tensions and undermine stability. China has issued stern warnings, suggesting that the arrival of F-16s could embolden Manila to take a more assertive stance in the South China Sea, increasing the risk of direct military confrontation and miscalculation in these already disputed waters. The United States, for its part, maintains that it is simply supporting an ally's legitimate right to self-defense. American officials argue that the arms deal is about ensuring regional balance and deterring aggression, while China frames it as part of a broader strategy of containment. As a result, this arms deal has quickly become a powerful symbol of the region's deepening security dilemma, where every move to bolster defense is perceived as a potential threat by others, fueling a cycle of suspicion and military buildup. The outcome is a highly volatile environment, where intentions are constantly questioned and military capabilities are under intense scrutiny. In this climate, even defensive measures can spark new flashpoints, making the path to stability ever more uncertain. The South China Sea is one of the world's most vital maritime crossroads, a vast expanse of water connecting the Pacific and Indian Oceans, serving as a lifeline for global commerce and trade. Every day, hundreds of massive cargo ships and oil tankers weave through these strategic waters, carrying goods, energy, and resources between continents. In fact, one-third of all global shipping, worth over $3 trillion annually, passes through these narrow straits. From electronics and automobiles to food and fuel, the world's supply chains depend on the safe passage of vessels through the South China Sea. Any disruption here would have immediate and far-reaching consequences. Even a brief interruption could send shockwaves through the global economy, causing chaos in supply chains, emptying store shelves, and sending prices soaring worldwide. The ripple effects would be felt from New York to Tokyo, impacting businesses and consumers alike. But the stakes go even deeper. Beneath the surface lie vast reserves of oil and natural gas, resources that fuel economies and drive competition for energy security and wealth. Control over these resources means influence and leverage on the world stage. For China, asserting control over the South China Sea means securing its maritime borders and projecting power far beyond its shores. For the United States and its allies, it's about ensuring freedom of navigation and keeping vital sea lanes open for all nations. China's sweeping territorial claims overlap with the exclusive economic zones of its neighbors, igniting fierce disputes and diplomatic standoffs. The region has become a flashpoint for competing interests and national pride. Smaller nations like the Philippines and Vietnam defend their rights under international law, appealing to global courts and seeking support from the international community, while China continues to assert its so-called historical sovereignty. This ongoing clash of interests and ambitions has turned the South China Sea into a global powder keg, one miscalculation away from sparking a crisis that could reverberate across the world. In response to China's assertiveness, the U.S., Japan, and the Philippines launched their largest joint naval drills yet, Maritime Sentinel 2025. Warships sailed in formation, signaling Allied unity and resolve without crossing into outright provocation. China's Navy shadowed the fleet, while Beijing issued stern warnings and staged its own military exercises. The message, neither side will back down. These drills, meant to deter aggression, have instead heightened tensions and increased the risk of miscalculation. With so many warships in close quarters, a single error could spark a crisis. The fragile peace is now more precarious than ever. The real front line isn't just warships, it's China's gray zone tactics at sea. Chinese Coast Guard vessels use water cannons and blockades to harass Philippine boats resupplying outposts. Swarms of Chinese ships, including maritime militia disguised as fishing boats, create a constant blockade. These actions deny Filipino fishermen access to traditional grounds and erode Manila's control. By using non-military vessels, China maintains plausible deniability and complicates any response. It's a slow, relentless strategy that pressures smaller nations to back down or risk escalation. In 2016, an international tribunal ruled against China's sweeping claims in the South China Sea, declaring the 9-line illegal. The ruling was a legal victory for the Philippines, affirming its rights and condemning China's artificial island building. Beijing rejected the decision outright, calling it waste paper and ramping up its activities in defiance. For China, sovereignty is non-negotiable and not subject to arbitration. The Philippines, backed by allies, insists the ruling is binding, but enforcement is elusive. This standoff exposes the limits of international law when a major power refuses to comply. The legal win remains on paper, while the struggle at sea continues. Neither Manila nor Beijing is willing to compromise. For the Philippines, it's about sovereignty, national pride, and upholding the 2016 ruling. Backing down would be seen as surrender, especially with U.S. support and growing military cooperation. For China, the South China Sea is a core interest, tied to national rejuvenation and historical narrative. President Xi cannot afford to show weakness, especially amid great power rivalry with the U.S. Each side sees concessions as unacceptable, fueling a cycle of action and reaction. Domestic politics and alliance commitments make de-escalation nearly impossible. The standoff is locked in, with neither side willing to blink. The crowded South China Sea is a tinderbox. Naval ships, Coast Guard cutters, and militia boats operate in dangerous proximity. A minor collision or miscalculation could spiral into a major crisis, especially with ambiguous red lines. The U.S.-Philippines Defense Treaty adds another layer of risk. An attack on a Philippine vessel could trigger American involvement. China's use of maritime militia blurs the line between civilian and military, complicating responses and raising the stakes. Communication channels are unreliable, leaving commanders to make split-second decisions in the fog of crisis. The risk of accidental escalation is real and terrifyingly short. In this environment, even a small incident could ignite a regional conflict. The ships are on a literal and figurative collision course. The South China Sea dispute is a defining test for the global order. Will international law prevail, or will might make right? The outcome will shape the security landscape for Asia and beyond, signaling whether small nations can stand up to powerful neighbors. U.S. alliances are on the line. Failure to support the Philippines could shake confidence across the region. Economically, a conflict here would disrupt global trade, trigger shortages, and spark a worldwide recession. The world's prosperity depends on peace and open sea lanes in these waters. This crisis is about more than territory. It's about the rules that govern our world. How leaders manage this standoff will determine the future of international relations. The stakes could not be higher.